Having just finished its first season, I can confidently say that Common Side Effects is fantastic. And while Adult Swim is no stranger to putting out awesome, unique series, something about this show in particular is just different. In its feel, in its execution, everything. If you've been curious about the show and want to know if it is worth checking out or haven't heard about it yet, this video is for you because I want to try and sell you on it. I will be avoiding any major spoilers, of course, but I will be talking about the general concept of the show and its characters, so if you are the going in blind type, this is your warning. I think it is absolutely worth checking out and I am just so excited to talk about it. Let's do this. Okay, internet, if you clicked on this video having no idea what Common Side Effects is, maybe because you've only seen a few still images or commercials, and you're curious or confused by the show's odd art style, let me give you the pitch. The show is about Marshall, a fungus expert who discovers a special mushroom that can seemingly cure any disease or heal any wound, and Francis, his old high school friend he reconnects with in the opening scenes. The existence of the mushroom and these two characters' knowledge of it creates a web of conspiracy theories and lies that far outreach the two of them. And that is the part of what makes this show so fun, is that it fills a space that isn't really occupied in animation, being a conspiracy thriller. Typically, and especially in the mainstream, adult animated series lean more into the comedy space. Shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy playing on sitcom tropes, or even something like Space Ghost Coast to Coast parodying talk shows. So while Common Side Effects is a comedy, and a dark comedy at that, that is not the sole focus of the series. Not to say that shows like that don't already exist. There have definitely been a rise in shows over the years like Pantheon and Undone, or action shows like Invincible and Arcane, or comedy dramas that go very dark like BoJack Horseman. It is just great to be seeing more and more works like this right now. With Common Side Effects, the humor draws itself from the characters. For example, and I don't know how much of this I'll actually be able to play because of copyright, this is how episode 1 introduces two of the series' main characters. Friends, I adore her, and when she dances, oh brother, she's a hurry, jump in the line. In animation especially, it is always so refreshing to get clips like this, where the point is small character moments that don't really directly move the plot forward. I personally find stuff like this to be my favorite parts of storytelling generally, and with animation, where the more movement means more work it needs to get done, stuff like this feels special.
Every time I move my arm, it costs the Cartoon Network $42.
Especially in a series that is hand-drawn, which I believe this show is. I saw that said somewhere, but I can't find that source now, so I want to talk about how great hand-drawn animation is in this, but I can't fully commit to that, but it definitely looks it. And the animation is, to me, a huge part of the show's charm. I can see some people being initially adverse to the show because it's a little weird looking, but it is a show that is worth it. The cartoonish, almost caricature-y style feels both simplistic, but with a focus on faces, emphasizing the characters' emotions and reactions in any given moment. The show is extremely expressive in both big and small ways, and that really helps lean into the comedy side of the show as well, even in scenes that aren't necessarily trying to be funny. This animation style is a bit of a tone setter. And if you are the kind of person that is a little put off by the visual style of the show, it's worth remembering that at one point people were having trouble getting into Bob's Burgers because of its style, and everyone who I've seen talk about that then go on to say, but then once I gave it a chance, I loved it. Okay, so a point I've already made twice now is the emphasis on characters. The two leads of the show, Marshall and Francis, are two characters who, in their best and worst moments, are characters we as the audience understand. When they make choices that we don't agree with, we still see why they make those choices. It is part of the fun of the show, having characters you are rooting for do things that make you want to shout at the screen. Marshall and Francis are characters who are on opposite sides of the conflict at the center of this. Marshall being against the major pharmaceutical industry, not trusting them with the miracle mushroom he discovered, the Blue Angel. Francis, on the other hand, works for a big pharma company and wants to bring the Blue Angel to them. It is partially because she knows it would help her career, but also because, as someone who exists inside the industry, she thinks it is the best way to help get this miracle cure to the masses. Despite these ideological differences, they both care about getting the Blue Angel out to the people and helping them. They are both good people at their core. And then when you combine that with their shared history, you get a really interesting, compelling back and forth at the center of the series, where neither is fully in the right at all times, and they just continuously feel tethered together. This complexity in character expands beyond the central leads, because Common Side Effects has a vast array of supporting players throughout its first season. Well-realized characters who feel like real people, who exist on one side of this conflict or another, even if they don't know what they are part of yet. A great example of this is the DEA agents that I showed you before. Agents Capano and Harrington, working for the government, are initially acting in service of the mysterious evil looming over the series, but as they progress and gain more information, they start changing up their moves. And honestly, I love them so much, and they might get a full spoiler-heavy video just for them. There's another character who is introduced in the 6th episode to put a certain plot in motion that I won't spoil here, but they give them a layer of depth that we don't necessarily need for the story to work, but helps add so much more, giving an interesting layer to an episode and the world as a whole. The show really feels like it exists in a living, breathing reality. Just quickly wanted to say, if you're enjoying the video, please like and subscribe because it helps the channel out. And if you have the means and are feeling a little extra generous, you could even become a channel member for just a few dollars a month. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. So I've been talking about how the show is a conspiracy thriller, and I want to dig a bit deeper on that. It is a thriller first, comedy second, and really nails it. There are action sequences in this that are so well done, so nail-biting, without ever feeling over the top or like they're being stretched out and running too long for shock value. On top of that, Common Side Effects nails the suspicious, looking over your shoulder paranoia needed for a good conspiracy story. Especially in the early episodes where we haven't fully established who the major players are and how anyone can be a threat. Even as the series goes on, and we get a better sense of who's who and their motivations, we still don't know what lengths these characters are willing to go to, and don't know what could happen in any given moment. There are seriously some scenes where I was questioning how far a character would go and then being shocked where they went. And I watch a lot of stuff, so I'm not surprised that often, honestly. The show is also helped by the fact that we are at a point where we are less trusting of Big Pharma than ever, with the show's announcement coming the week of Luigi Mangione's arrest, after that announcement being delayed because of the killing of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. In the same vein of something that became a lot more current than it originally intended to be, is the book No One. It's a standalone book in the Massive verse. The trade for this came out around the same time as the announcement of Common Side Effects, and it also is touching on a lot of the same themes in a much different way that I would recommend checking out if you're interested. That is the zeitgeist co-creators Joseph Bennett and Steve Healy were tapping into with this show, but with their, I believe it's 5-year development cycle to get the show to air, it really became even more prevalent of a topic of conversation than originally intended. Common Side Effects is a big swing for Adult Swim. While the channel got its start in pushing the boundaries with its animated comedies, I believe this is the first real push into serialized drama, and the show has nailed it so far. That's why I wanted to make this video, to do what I can to help spread the word so it doesn't end up like Joseph Bennett's other series, Scavenger's Reign. That was another serialized experimental animated series that Max canceled after one season in 2023 and has been slowly finding its audience since, but is still something where you're left wanting more. Now, Common Side Effects is already doing much better. It has found enough of an audience on its own to get a second season, but there are so many unanswered questions that I think could keep the show going for several seasons, something that the creators themselves have said that they want to do, and I hope it can get there because so far it has been great. And honestly, after this video, I don't think there's anything left that I can say that would sell you on it if I haven't already. Oh, it's trippy as balls. that's it for this one. If you want a video on the surrealist elements of the show, going deep into spoilers, let me know. I hope to do a bunch of videos about the show because, as I'm sure you can tell, I really love it so far. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.